It's Jay and I'm here today with a book review, and that book review is about They Both Die in the End by Adam Silvera. So I borrowed this copy of They Both Die in the End from Crew, so thank you Crew for letting me borrow this amazing book. I had originally started reading it during one of the days I had gone to class, and I don't know why I did that because I know that that never works for me. Doesn't give me a chance to really get into the book, and so because of that, it sadly took me about 65 pages to really get into the book, but once I got into the book, I got into the book. I read the majority of this book in 2 days. I would have read it all in one day, but I didn't want to stay up till like 4 a.m. and then be dead the next day, which I was totally willing to, but I had some things I had to do, like go to class. So for those of you that don't know what this book about, this book takes place in modern day, specifically 2017, September 5th, 2017, when these two boys named Mateo and Rufus get a call from Deathcast. Deathcast is a service that calls you on the day, at midnight on the day you're going to die, and it tells you in the next 24 hours sometime you are going to pass away. They don't tell you how, they don't tell you when, they just tell you that you're going to die today, so make the most of it. There's also this app called Last Friend, where if you type in some information about yourself, you can get hooked up with someone who is either going to die as well, or someone who isn't going to die and wants to help what they call deckers, the people that are going to die. So both Mateo and Rufus do this for different reasons, and the boys meet up together, and they spend their last day together, and they become quite close, and they go on different adventures, some of them fake, some of them not, and by fake I mean like they go to simulation. And they learn about each other, and they get quite close, and it's just... So Mateo, he is a little ragamuffin. He is the purest soul on the planet. He does special little things, like there was a bird that had died, and he had buried it. He wanted to give the homeless man his money, and a million other things that makes him the sweetest thing on the earth. Rufus is part of a gang called the Plutos. It's not like a gang, but it's kind of like a chosen family with a few other people that were there for him when his family passed away. He is headstrong, he's very adventurous, he's pretty chill, he's up to doing anything, but he also will go outside his comfort zone and help Mateo get outside his comfort zone. And Mateo helped Rufus learn to remember what it feels like to be alive instead of just living day by day. I'm going to talk about the prose right now. The prose was beautiful, it was refined, it was quirky, and it fit in with both the voices of the main characters quite well. Personality was shown in both the dialogue and actions, and there was a good balance between the story taking place in current time and either Rufus or Mateo talking about at some point in their life that impacted them and made them be who they are today. There was a good balance between those. Both Mateo and Rufus are Latinx, and they're both queer. One of them is bisexual, and one of them I believe is gay, but it's never explicitly stated, but it's heavily implied that he's just gay. And even though I know they were going to both die at the end, I easily fell in love with both the characters, and I truly mourned them at the end of this book. The title grabbed my attention because so well. This is one of my favorite titles, one of my favorite covers, one of my favorite books, probably my favorite standalone book. And even though I knew the fate of the two boys, I couldn't help but root for them. So kudos for Adam Silvera for making me fall in love with these two characters who you knew how their story was going to turn out. There's also a cool feature, sort of an interactive real-world feature, where a few of the characters mention their Instagram accounts, and I was curious because usually when their Instagram accounts are named, then half the time the publishers or the writer or someone in their staff will actually create a real Instagram account, and I did that, and I did that for Rufus because he wants to be a photographer, and they actually had pictures with the editing that they mentioned and of the images that he took throughout the story. So that was a really cool feature, and it helped me. It gave it a special flavor and a specific interactive component, which I really appreciated. In the first third of the book, I cried, I believe, 5 times. I didn't like outright bawl, but if a book makes me want to cry or it makes me tear up, then I count that as crying, because very few books have elicited that response from me, and when one does, it's very special, and it's really, it's good, or at least I know it's good when it makes me want to cry. There's a scene toward the beginning and then later toward the end where Mateo is visiting his father, who's in the hospital because he's been in a coma for a few weeks. that scene, and then a few other scenes, such as where Mateo and Rufus interacted with the homeless men, and gave the homeless men whatever money they had on him, and he hugged him. That made me cry so much, and like there were so many quotes throughout where I had to document them because they hit me. Like, usually a book will have 2, maybe 3 quotes, if that, but this book had like 7 quotes, and I will share them with you in a little bit. But by the end of the book, I had definitely cried or teared up or wanted to cry 10 times, and the last line of the book broke me the most. I have unfortunately been in a reading slump for about a month and a half because of another book, and I will do a review on that book as well and why it is really bad and I don't recommend reading it. But this book cured me of that, and it's definitely one of the reasons it's my favorite book of all time. My favorite Sailor Moon book, at least, probably, because that book was a truly terrible 2-star read. And this is my first time reading an Adam Silvera novel, but now I want to read all of his books, and I want copies of all of his books, because again, this is Crew's copy. There are 6 quotes that I saved from this book, and I'm going to share them with you now, which is about 2 to 3 times as many as normal, so... Anyone can have pretty eyes, but only the right person can hum the alphabet and make it your favorite beat. Stories can make someone immortal as long as someone else is willing to listen. I was raised to be honest, but the truth can be complicated. It doesn't matter if the truth won't make a mess. Sometimes the words don't come out until you're alone. Even that's not guaranteed. Sometimes the truth is a secret you're keeping from yourself because living a lie is easier. I just don't think I should be the judge of who actually needs my help or not. Like, they should do a dance or sing me a song to prove they're worthy. Asking for help when you need it should be enough. Oh, it's $1. We'll make $1 again. That's from the homeless men scene, and that made me cry. It's okay to give into emotions, but you should fight your way out of the bad ones too. Love is a superpower we all have, but it's not always a superpower I'd be able to control, especially as I get older. Sometimes I'll go crazy and I shouldn't be scared if my power hits someone I'm not expecting it to. So I would definitely recommend reading this book, either for Pride Month, for Sabathon, as you will bawl, most likely, because I did like 10 times, or just if you want a really emotional, character-driven and plot-driven novel, because this was both, or if you just want to stay up all night and not sleep at all because you get hooked on a book, then I would definitely recommend reading this one. This will definitely be a novel I'm going to reread in the future, and I'm going to have to buy a copy for myself, and this is probably a rare book where I actually would want to get a hardback because it's so gorgeous. There's also a couple aspects in the book that I forgot to mention in my Goodreads review. There are other side characters where some of them, the 2 main characters, Mateo and Rufus, will meet, some of them they won't. Some of the side characters that are mentioned have a few pages, sometimes more than once, where they narrate, or where the narrator follows them and what they're doing. Such as with Mateo's best friend. The chapters that the side characters have, they both make you, depending on who's narrating and what the chapter is, it makes you anticipate certain things. It makes you worry for how soon Mateo and Rufus are going to die. Such as when there's this character who is planning on, I'm not going to say how, but is planning to destroy himself and others, and you know that Mateo and Rufus are headed in the direction that the man is going to be. And so you worry, like, oh my god, are they gonna die soon? When are they gonna die? How late are they gonna die? How early are they going to die? How little time are they going to get together? There are also a few chapters more towards the end where some of the characters kind of get a redemption moment. Because, like, there's this couple who broke off their engagement recently, and the woman gets a call from Deathcast, and her fiance had been working at Deathcast, and she thought that out of spite and in terms of revenge, he prank called her, and so she's like, did you, and when she finds out that he didn't, he comes running to her house to spend her last couple hours together. That kind of made me cry too, not as much as the main storyline did, but like just that little moment. There are also hints throughout the story as to how each of them are going to die. Like, this is a spoiler-free review, I can't mention specifics, oh my god. Okay. There are a few instances where Mateo he went to deliver letters that he had written to some of his neighbors saying like, oh, thanks for everything, and you can forget about what I asked you to do recently, like fix this or do this for me, whatever, just forget it. And there are a few instances when Mateo and Rufus are together where one of the boys will do something to prevent the other from doing something. This is so vague, but you'll just have to read it to find out what I'm talking about. And the foreshadowing is really well, it's really implanted really well in like really good scenes, and it's so, it's just a little hint, just like a little pshoo of what is going to actually happen to the boys and how they're going to die. One of the boys does die a few hours before the other, and I just, it was so sad. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. It was it was probably the best book I've read so far this year. Whatever book I read next will most likely pale in comparison to it. So that's all I have for today. I upload every Saturday and sometimes during the week, usually Wednesday. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the little bell so you can get notifications when I update. Down below are all my social media links, such as Spotify, where I will post playlists for different books I'm writing, my website, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So please follow me down below, and I will see you in another video. Bye!